Lamar's performance in that game wasn't the best. It did not leave a good imprint on how people view him now. Honestly, for the most part, just seeing how that game was going, there were just moments where he's missed some throws down the field where he could have had. There was some plays where he could have taken off because the Chiefs gave him those looks and he chose to stay in the pocket, just trying to just stay in the pocket, throw the ball. There was some moments there where Lamar made some good plays, especially early on. That touchdown to Zay Flowers really looked like it was going to set the tone early on. But then the minute the strip sack happened, everything just went haywire. And I've always been consistent with the Ravens, just seeing how this new iteration Ravens team is. As soon as a mistake like that happens, the Ravens panic. And for some reason, they can never regain their composure from there. Ravens panic. And for some reason, they can never regain their composure from there. And it seemed like it was just going through and through throughout the team. But for Lamar specifically there were just times down the stretch where he had opportunities to just make plays and he didn't make it. And even though there were things that were happening around him that wasn't his fault, the one aspect that you'll take away where you look at him and say, buddy, what are you doing? That interception into triple coverage is probably one of the biggest aspects people are going to take away from the game. Like, Zay Flowers fumbling, people are going to remember that. All the stuff that was happening prior to that pick really wasn't Lamar's fault, other than the fact that there were times where he was hesitant to take off. But the turnovers, the strip sack, Ronnie Stanley missed a block right there. You know, you don't expect to get hit from your blind side if your left tackle's doing his job. And then Zay fumbling the ball right there. That, again, is on Zay. That's not on Lamar. If Zay holds onto the ball, it's a touchdown right there in this 3-point game. So all of that really kind of helped Lamar's case of saying he's not really the one specifically responsible, or there's nothing you can really look at and specifically blame on him. But that pick into triple coverage is just unacceptable. And if we're gonna look at Lamar Jackson in terms of how much of a stain this leaves on his legacy, I would say it can leave a drastic stain on his legacy long term if he never goes on to win a championship. I mean, the guy's 27 years old. He's still relatively young. He's going to have opportunities, though will they be able to capitalize on it? That is the question. But he will have opportunities. If he never goes on to win a Super Bowl, people are going to look back at this year and say this was the best chance for him to get a title, and he just came up short. But if he does, further on down the stretch in his career, get a Super Bowl at some point, then this will just be seen as a short-term moment. One thing's for sure, this is going to be discussed throughout the summer. Even if it wasn't his fault, that pick is not going to be forgotten by anybody. So that's probably one of the toughest aspects. And it definitely leaves a stain in the short term and could leave a stain in the long term, depending on how his career goes down the stretch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I get what you're saying about that interception, because it was not a good interception. No. I think once the ball left his hand, I think there was a collective, what the hell are we doing? Like the moment it left it. But in my opinion, Zay Flowers put him in that position.
Yeah.
Like you had the Chiefs scoring 17 points in the first half. They go over in the second half.
Right.
Zay Flowers gets that big ball. The moment he stood up and did, I was like, no, I don't even see the flag, but I know there's going to be a flag. They were at the 10 or the 9,
they were close.
And they got backed up 15 yards because of that. And I was like, that's immature crap that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
Especially on a John Harbaugh team. Like you should know. Like you're down 17-7. You need this touchdown, okay? Then I don't even understand why he dove at the goal line the way he did. Just muscle through there and you're getting in. Like what are you avoiding at that point? Now, Kansas City, they did make a great play. But Zay Flowers put Lamar Jackson in a position to where he had to start trying to play magic ball when you're down 17-7. So I get it that he threw that interception in triple coverage, but he's pressing because you're going into the fourth. You're You're down 17-7.
Yeah.
You need 2 scores.
Right.
You need to make something happen. It would have been 17-14. At the end of the day, they lost by 7 points.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like Zay Flowers put Lamar Jackson into position to have to play hero ball. And when you start feeling like all of the weight of the team's success is on your shoulders, that's when you make mistakes.
Right.
And you throw balls in situations that you normally wouldn't.
Right.
Because Lamar Jackson hadn't really done that.
Right.
He's been very smart with the ball most of the year.
Yep.
But I felt like he needed the press
Yeah.
to make something happen.
There is something that the Chiefs defense, specifically the Chiefs defense, does, because you know what that felt like? It felt like Josh Allen, how he will press the ball repeatedly, and he notoriously will do it in these big games, especially against the Chiefs. And that game, Lamar reminded me a lot of Josh Allen and the way he will just keep pressing and pressing and pressing.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't do it repeatedly. It was just that one time.
Yeah, it was one time.
But if you're telling me that the Chiefs are only going to score 17 points in the first half, and they're not going to score any points in the second half,
Yeah.
as a Ravens fan, are
Right.
you not thinking the Ravens are going to win that game?
Right.
You're somehow going to figure it out.
Right.
Like, they didn't score a single point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm glad that I got your defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that either.
but I'm very happy about that.
But
We'll talk
Boy,
about
we'll
it.
talk about the.
But like, but that was the craziest thing, is that 17-10.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we all felt like the Ravens offense was going to do something at some point.
Yeah.
And that one point they were going to do it, Zay Flowers like, nah, man, let me go ahead and shit the bed here.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and make 2 big mistakes
Yeah.
and just fuck it all up.
Oh man, that was hard. to
So
watch.
that was really hard, especially for him. And then he cut his hand, didn't he?
Yeah.
yeah, he was
He
bleeding
cut his
afterwards.
hand on the sideline, throwing his helmet and
Right.
punching shit. And I was like, Zay, man, you're not
Yeah.
you're not
he just
making
completely unraveled.
total meltdown in one possession. I think that was the game.
It was
That one
it
possession
It
was
was.
the game.
Yeah.
It was.
It God,
He showed his age there for sure.
I wanted the Ravens in
Exactly.
this Super Bowl so goddamn bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
You
I
and me
think
both.
that they were the only team that's going to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
June, let's hear from you.
So I'm gonna give a different twist on this. I don't think it stains. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback in this time period. In the time period we in of quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that we have started in the league, Lamar Jackson is a top 5 quarterback. I think he's one of the best in the game because Lamar Jackson has that ability to take over a game whenever he wants to. I'm going to give credit to the Chiefs defense for having a game plan.
Hate it.
I sent Jalen a message earlier. What do you think about Spagnolia? Sorry, I got a little cousin named Jaden. I'm sorry. So I sent Jalen a question. Does Steve Spagnolia get a job after this? Because he put together, in the 3 games in the playoffs, he put together 3 masterful games in the playoffs as a defensive coordinator. He really did. I think there was confusion by the Ravens offense. I think Steve Spagnuolo confused him, and he confused Lamar. And
Ravens
I mean,
shot
that
themselves in
triple
the foot.
They did, but I
Listen,
think
Steve Spatula had nothing to do with Zay Flowers getting that penalty.
Well, no.
Well, up until that point,
And,
they weren't scoring the ball either.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
the first
you
3
gotta
quarters
give
they
it-
weren't doing much, but the
You gotta
pressure was
give-
getting to them.
Right.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo knew what he was doing.
Yeah, Spatula.
The guy is a great defensive
No, he's
coordinator.
not.
I don't know if he's ever going to get a head coaching again
We can
because he's
tell.
like 10-41.
We're not doing
But
that.
he is a great defensive
He should
coordinator.
never be a
And
head
he's
coach
proven
in the NFL again.
They were able to.
Ever.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but they were able to stop Tua, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. It made them all look pedestrian.
Okay, hold on a second. First of all,
They're gonna say
we're gonna act like the Dolphins.
I knew it.
Were really them.
Yeah.
No, they weren't.
And they were there.
Now we knew.
Can we skip this part?
We knew that Josh Allen should have done some shit. We knew he should have.
Right.
Yeah.
For some reason, I kind of feel like Diggs is kind of like, fuck you, man. Like I don't like you. And
Probably.
Cook
Clown.
and Cook didn't do much. But no, Steve Spatula, it's fine. We all know what is. No, he does not deserve to be a head coach again. And then, just like Dan Quinn, like Dan Quinn does not need to be a head coach in the NFL again. He's a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You are
That
not
last game.
a good defense. You're not a good head coach.
Before we go any further, I do want to hear what Nestor has to say about this game.
I completely agree with June, but more so about the overall team of the Chiefs, because they just managed to have the same mindset going into the game throughout the whole game. They just managed the game so well.
Yeah.
From Mahomes to the coaching, but they do things that the other teams don't. When it comes down to the pivotal moments, they don't make the mistakes that the Dolphins do, that the Ravens do. The closest game was against the Bills, and I'm shocked because the way the Bills had their regular season.
Yeah.
So I give credit there. Like June said, I still think Lamar is a top 5 quarterback,
Okay.
especially looking at the rest of the league.
I understand what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Hold on. If Zay Flowers does not lose his fucking mind and then fumble the football, do the Ravens not probably win this game?
I don't know if they
don't know.
win it,
That's a
know
good
what
question.
It's 17-10 at the end of the day.
but it's
But
not
we gotta
the.
think about
That's
this.
a
The
touchdown.
Chiefs weren't being aggressive, though. I think one thing we got to
the
think
Chiefs-
of is that the Chiefs weren't being nearly as aggressive offensively
fan.
because their defense was doing such a great job on Lamar, and to the point where they got them to press, that they really didn't need to actually get aggressive on offense. Now, if Zay would have scored, it's a 3-point game.
They couldn't
And you
get
know
aggressive
Mahomes-
on offense in the second half. Mike McDonald, who
That's
is
fair.
my new head coach, thank
True,
God,
he did a great job.
he did a great job in the second half with adjustments. He frustrated the shit out of the Chiefs. They weren't
did.
doing
He did.
anything
He did.
on
He did a
offense.
great job on
There was nothing that you could take away from that second half with the Chiefs offense that makes you think that, oh, yeah, they could just march down the field and get 7 points whenever the fuck they want to. There was nothing happening in the second half that
Right.
made you think that. So Zay
But to be
Flowers just
To be fair, the
Besides-
end of that
just
play, though,
dead
that
butting the
finished
shit
game.
out of things. Just a wilting fucking flower over here with the. I mean, what do we?
I'm sorry,
a
but
fair
if there's
assessment.
time
That's a
left
fair
on the clock
assessment.
with Patrick Mahomes with the ball, I'm not picking against that man. So
You
the thing.
well, that's because you said you were never going
End
to
of the
do
game.
that again.
right, and he's never
Yeah,
proved
yeah.
me wrong.
But he didn't have to do that in this game because of Zay Flowers.
I can't do anything.
He
About
would have
that.
been in that position. But the Ravens defense held him in check
They did, yeah.
in the second half
They
of
did a
that
great
game.
job.
He did
did a
nothing.
fantastic job in the
the
second half.
second half of the game, nothing.
Do you guys think before we move
Like
on?
Taylor
do you
Swift
think-
slept with Travis Kelce because of everything he did in the first half, not the second half.
Oh
Do
my
you
God.
think that in the beginning of the game when Travis Kelce was going at it with all the Ravens defenders, do you think that he got into their heads at all?
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
No,
absolutely.
because the
Absolutely.
second half proved
And I
that
was
they
watching it
didn't.
happen. I was like, I know what
The
he's doing.
second
It's gonna
half,
work.
no, the
I
second
saw.
half proved that he
saw.
didn't do that.
You don't
No,
think
see,
so
here's
at
the
all?
thing. Here's
He
the thing, though.
didn't have
I think he did in
any-
the first half, though.
Right,
I
at
think
least
he
in
did
the
Maybe
first
the
half.
first
In the
half,
first
but
half, because they couldn't make a stop.
nothing in the second half. He had
Right. They
9
gained their
catches
composure.
for like 95 yards and
Yeah,
a touchdown
it
in
cooled
the first
off.
half.
Right.
Yeah, cooled off like an iceberg that sank the Titanic. That's how much he cooled off. That Kansas City offense did nothing in the second half.
Right. Yeah.
Baltimore's offense had all the time in the world to try to make it happen, and they lost
But
17-10
when it
because of
comes
Zay
down to it,
Flowers'
though-
weak ass hands.
But I'm
So
gonna tell you,
got to
when it
fumble the
comes down to
fucking
it,
ball in the
if
end
If
zone.
they would have tied the score up, I still think the Chiefs would have pulled that
No.
game out. Even if
No.
they would have tied it up.
I agree with
I'm
you.
not
No.
At the end of the
Patrick
game,
Mahomes
though. You have to think at the end of the game, though. That last second where they needed to get a first down to end the game, that
Right, and
pass
they
to
did.
Valdez-Scantling,
Right,
when they need to be
right.
aggressive at times.
They
Now, again, we
did.
can make an argument if Zay scores a touchdown there, they could try to get aggressive, and maybe the Ravens defense
can't
stops it
believe
because
I'm
they
the
were doing
one.
it throughout the entirety of the second half. But we saw when they needed to make plays down the stretch to put that game on ice, Mahomes dialed it up and guys made plays. A big part of what makes Kansas City successful is they don't hurt themselves in key situations consistently.
Oh, they don't?
They make the big plays in the right moments.
They didn't do it against the
Zay Flowers
Lions. They
scoring
didn't
that
do it against
touchdown
3 other teams.
closes up, but who knows what happens afterwards?
Like my
I think
quarterback-
you give Mahomes the ball. Who knows?
Your
My quarterback
is
slips
Edward
and falls
Scissorhands. He has
in
concussion.
game-winning
Shut up, man.
drives. Mahomes
Come on.
just comes through.
Slips.
Yeah.
So it's,
Right.
All right, let's keep it
You,
moving.
you guys feeling the Chiefs a little bit too much.
Let's keep
Although
it
I
moving.
absolutely believe we should have won that game.
You're
We
damn
had
right you
ample
should've.
opportunities. We
Flowers.
should have won that game. Offensively, I just didn't like some of the things we did.
Yeah.
It just felt we got rattled early on. And this is something I've been seeing with the Ravens offense when we get to the playoffs. Even though we've changed offensive coordinator, for some reason, when they find themselves down early, they start going away from things that works for them. They start going away from that game plan and not even attempting it. We're the #1 rushing attack in football, and yet consistently in playoff games, we're barely using our backs and running the football. And in that game against Kansas City, 6 carries. We got Dalvin Cook. He didn't even see the field.
That
So, like, we're
doesn't
not even
mean
doing things
that
we
doesn't
should.
mean that Kansas City is great though. 17 points.
No, I'm just saying we ourselves.
Like we're
We literally didn't do things that would have directly affected them.